Hey, welcome to our second day of the Family Emotional Intelligence Challenge. And today we'll be talking about feelings versus behavior. Understanding what we feel versus what we do. Sometimes it's difficult to really calm down, to be able to differentiate between what we feel and how we behave. And that's where you see a child shout, throws a toy, storms off, and a parent raises their voices, slams a cupboard, walks away in frustration. Then later you see both of them saying things like, "I was just angry." But anger was the feeling, but throwing, shouting, slamming, that was the behavior. So confusing the two is where families lose peace of mind. It's where you have conflict. It's where you have problems. Alright? The same thing you see between husband and wife. Something happened and you are feeling bad about it, and then you react. You see people going to the extent of beating their wife or hitting their husband because we are not able to control what we feel from ruling over our actions. So today we are going to draw a powerful line between the two. That is your feelings and your behavior. The truth is that feelings are real. You cannot deny it. And yesterday we talked about naming your feelings, your emotions. But choosing how we react, our response to our feeling, is a choice. Not every reaction is right. You may not control your feeling, but you can control your actions. I say people can groom themselves to control how they allow things around them to stimulate their emotions, right? However, no matter the level of emotional intelligence you are, you can intentionally work towards controlling your actions and not allowing your actions to rule your emotions. We go again. The science of the pulse. When emotion rises, something happens in the brain. It makes the brain move fast. Yesterday we were talking about the amygdala. Again today, the amygdala detects threats or discomfort and signals the body to react. And that's where you see your heart racing. So there's an increased heart rate. You see your muscle tense and then what? Fly. And how many of us have been in that space where you are confronting someone out of the anger boiling within you, and then your heart is really shaking? It happens to me. And that's the science of what goes in our mind and then our heart and the whole body system. So at this point, the prefrontal cortex, that's your decision making center, needs a few seconds to engage. So your thinking brain and your emotional brain sometimes don't work together at the same time. One have to give way for the other. So your prefrontal cortex need a bit of time to try to get itself to engage. So those few seconds are everything. It changes a lot when you are able to master this process. So neuroscience shows that even a 6 to 10 second pause lowers emotional intensity and allows natural rational processing to return. This is called response flexibility. So usually I will teach my children, which I also try to do most of the times, is trying to pause and counting. By the time you are getting to the 5th to the 10th count, you realize that you've been able to chill and relax. So that pause is the birthplace of emotional intelligence. It helps you to calm your nerves and be able to rationalize things. You are no longer going to react based on what you feel, but what your thinking brain, your prefrontal cortex has been able to process. Okay? So, children are not born with this ability to engage their prefrontal cortex, while the amygdala is trying to create a flight sensation within them. No, it's something we intentionally build in our children and also master ourselves first. Okay, so their prefrontal cortex is still developing into early adulthood. So that's why you see it's normal for children to throw tantrum, but you still see adults throwing tantrum on top of children who are throwing tantrum. That's where we have this need for emotional intelligence. So sometimes we say our children makes us do this. You react based on what your children are doing. You don't realize that their own brain is still developing, but you, that is the adults that are supposed to be in control and in charge of what happens in your brain and in your mind. You have not realized, you have not walked into that level of emotional intelligence. Then you are struggling and your children are struggling and you don't even know where it's coming from. So when your children explode, it's not always defiance. I've said it before. Sometimes it's not that your children are stubborn. It is undeveloped regulation. They are just still trying to find their own ways. And parents are the co-regulators. If you're able to master and regulate your emotions, you'll be able to help your children regulate their own emotion, help them grow and master emotional intelligence by modeling it, guiding them, teaching them, and reflecting it in your day-to-day engagement. Parents who are emotionally intelligent will naturally, or to a great extent, raise emotionally intelligent children, because children learn by modeling. So, if we react impulsively, we teach impulsivity. If we pause, we teach power, control over what we feel. And our children will grow to reflect the same. I was trying to have a discussion some time ago. When they say anger runs in our blood, there's nothing like that. It's not like your red blood. It's in behavioral pattern, the same thing. So when you see parents who are everywhere with emotion, shout, beat, those things, react, that's how your children will react. And then they say it's in their blood. Oh, which blood are you talking about? They react. That's how your children will react. And then they say it's in their blood. Oh, which blood are you talking about? It's not in the gene. I've not heard of anything like anger in the gene. No. If there is something like that, it's genetic modification and genetic I'm trying to find the right word. Adaptation due to behavioral pattern. So let's talk about the psychology of validation and limits. So psychology distinguishes between emotional validation and behavioral permission. What does this mean? So validation would say, I see that you are angry. Okay? While permission would say, therefore anything you do is acceptable. You may not say it directly, but when you accept or let a behavior go by without pointing it out and correcting it, not with aggression and all the reactivity, no, calmly calling it, naming it, guiding your children on the right way to go about it, or excusing it, you become permissive towards that behavior, and it will repeat and it will become a pattern. So emotional validation and behavioral permission is not the same. They are different. Research in child development shows that children who experience emotional validation, acknowledgements of yes, this has happened, right? Acknowledging that, okay, yes, I understand you're going through a big feeling or whatever you are feeling. I understand this real. At least helping your children accept that their feeling is genuine. Remember, not excusing their behavior, but yes, you acknowledge this feeling is real. So when children experience such validations. Research says that they develop higher self-esteem because they are not being judged or condemned due to feeling what they are feeling. They exhibit fewer behavioral issues because they're not going to fight or struggle with anyone who try to reduce the significance of what they are feeling. Because sometimes what you see is children fighting for themselves, and they show stronger emotional regulation skills because an adult who will validate, and they show stronger emotional regulation skills because an adult who will validate an emotion has a level or certain level of emotional intelligence and will understand how to guide that child, and that child will grow up to show stronger emotional regulation skills. So, but children without behavioral boundaries, we always struggle with impulse control and social functioning. So you see a child get angry, overreact, throw things, and you excuse it and say, he's angry, he's just showing that he's angry. Or you let it slide. Those children will struggle. They will struggle with building a healthy home that is combined with compassion and clarity. So what is the right thing to say or do? Your child reacts. You tell this child, it's okay to feel frustrated, but it's not okay to hit. So you see children, they're always fighting each other. Or they raise their hand to hit because they're angry. No, it's okay to be angry. I understand that what happened isn't pleasant to you, you're frustrated. But it's not okay to raise your hand in response to hit. And some of us, they learned it from us. That's how we show we're angry to them when they do something wrong. So they've learned it that when they're angry or someone does something they don't like, then they should do what mommy or daddy does, hit. So you can say it's okay to feel jealous, but it's not okay to insult. Some of us, we deny that we feel jealous. But accepting it and telling yourself it's not acceptable is a feeling, yeah? But it's not part of me. I don't have to be jealous of someone because of what they have achieved or what they have that I don't have, and speak sense into your brain. But not accepting it is we struggling with emotional intelligence. And sometimes our children are not bold enough to tell us they feel jealous about their mate. Those who have longer hair than them, those who have more straight leg, or are fairer, or are darker, or has whatever they don't have. These feelings are real. Our children struggle with them, but we can talk about them. And we can use the opportunity to teach them how to be contented and be happy with what they have. But when we keep pushing it aside, pretending that it doesn't exist, our children will grow up. We keep pushing it aside, pretending that it doesn't exist, our children will grow up with that struggle, which will keep fighting their self-esteem. Because they will continue comparing and feeling that other people have more than what they have achieved or what they possess. So, talk about feelings. I know you're overwhelmed, but it's not okay to disrespect. However, that's what some of us do. When we are overwhelmed, exhausted, we come back, we talk to our children anyhow. And some of us call our children names. But it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. We shouldn't call our children names because we are angry. So spiritual insight. Proverbs chapter 29 verse 11 says, a fool gives full vent to his anger, but a wise person keeps himself under control. So notice it does not say a fool feels anger. No, it says a fool gives full vent. In the way it is in your heart, pour it. Some people even make boast of it. You know, I don't hide my mouth. The way it is, I will say it. Anger itself is not a sin. We've said it before. But unrestrained reaction is where damage begins. Ephesians chapter 4 verse 26 even teaches, be angry but sin not. So, scripture again acknowledges emotion, but it also instructs our behavior. When it says sin not, it's addressing the action, the emotion, the behavior that comes from your feelings. So even Jesus, that was so righteous, was angry at some point, but he remained intentional. He was never reckless. Spiritual maturity is not emotional suppression. It's not. It is emotional responsibility, emotional stewardship. So what happens when we don't teach this? If a child grows up believing my feeling is justifies my behavior. They may become explosive under stress, defensive in relationships, unable to accept corrections, resistant to accountability. But if a child in the other side grows up believing my feelings are wrong, they may become emotionally shut down, not able to express themselves, passive, aggressive, anxious, and people pleasing. I'm sure you don't want your children to be in that, and I am responsible for my actions. They will grow up to become emotionally intelligent, emotionally stable adults, accountable leaders, safe partners, wise decision makers. And that lesson begins at home. You see this problem of men beating their wives and women disrespecting their husbands. Trace it. Foundation, family, how they were raised. It didn't start as adults. So what is our family challenge? Today, use phrases like, it's okay to feel, but it's not okay to. So you see your child does something. It's okay to feel frustrated, but it's not okay to slam the door. It's okay to feel angry, but it's not okay to shout at someone whom you're angry with. Let it become, so they begin to understand the difference between their feelings and their behavior. So parents must model it first. When you feel stressed, say, it's okay for me to feel overwhelmed, but it's not okay for me to snap at you. So when you snap at your child and you say, you are shouting at me, tell them, I'm overwhelmed, I'm so sorry. I'm not meant to shout even when I'm overwhelmed. I will find a way to calm myself down. Do you want to give me some minutes to just rest my... You can ask for permission to be left alone to process your feelings. But don't go about shouting on everyone and your innocent children. When you feel irritated, you can say, okay, it's okay for me to feel frustrated, but it's not okay for me to speak rudely or harshly. Your children will begin to learn more from what is modeled than what we instruct them to do. Practice the pause. Teach your family simple patterns like naming your feelings, breathe slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let them learn how to count in seconds while breathing. It suits a lot. It helps a lot. Choose response. Teach them how to choose their response. Make it visible. You can write it. Make it fun. Make it applicable depending on their age. If they are younger, you can just write pause somewhere. They can even spell it and learn a new word. So, emotional intelligence lives in that your ability to pause even when you're under stress or pressure. So tonight, our reflection says, how do we usually respond when but it's not okay for me to speak rudely or harshly? Your children will begin to learn more from what is modeled than what we instruct them to do. Practice the pause. Teach your family simple patterns like naming your feelings, breathe slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let them learn how to count in seconds while breathing. It suits a lot. It helps a lot. Choose response. Teach them how to choose their response. Make it visible. You can write it. Make it fun. Make it applicable depending on their age. If they are younger, you can just write pause somewhere. They can even spell it and learn a new word. So, emotional intelligence lives in that your ability to pause even when you're under stress or pressure. So tonight, our reflection says, how do we usually respond when emotions run high in our home? Ask that question. Let your children be open and sincere. How do they see you react when you are angry, when you're frustrated, stressed out? Do we raise our voice? Do we withdraw? Do we blame? Do we cry, avoid, or escalate? No defensiveness, just awareness. Creating that awareness goes a long way to help your family to begin to heal, to begin to make changes required. So for the next 24 hours before we meet again, do not correct emotions, only guide behaviors. Okay? Allow expression of feelings, but guide the behavior that follows the feelings. If someone says, I hate this, respond. It sounds like you are really frustrated. Then add, it's okay to feel that way. Let's choose a better response. But don't say, he don't hate people. We know. But for your children, they need to come to that point of understanding that sometimes what they even call hate is not that they literally hate someone. It's just because things are not going their way at that point. Okay, so but when you go saying you don't hate people, start preaching, you will make them become defensive, and they will start hiding their feelings in the future. So the essence is to allow them to be free to express themselves and guide their behaviors around it. Then take some time again to teach them those issues you think is being a concern to you. So repeat it, do it consistently, because repetition builds regulation. The more we do it, the more you master it. That's how to build on your emotional intelligence, but guide the behavior that follows the feelings. If someone says, I hate this, respond, it sounds like you are really frustrated. Then add, it's okay to feel that way. Let's choose a better response. But don't say, you don't hate people. We know. But for your children, they need to come to that point of understanding that sometimes what they even call hate is not that they literally hate someone. It's just because things are not going their way at that point. Okay? So, but when you go saying, you don't hate people, start preaching, you will make them become defensive, and they will start hiding their feelings in the future. So the essence is to allow them to be free to express themselves and guide their behaviors around it. Then take some time again to teach them those issues you think is being a concern to you. So repeat it, do it consistently, because repetition builds regulation. The more we do it, the more you master it. That's how to build on your emotional intelligence. So as a family, you are not raising perfect children. You are raising children who are self-aware. You are building a self-awareness plus self-control, which is one of the greatest predictors of life success. Okay? Both academically, relationally, spiritually. When your children are aware of their feelings and are able to guide their action, they are able to relate with anyone at any level. They are able to succeed in any area of life. So today, you are teaching your child that they can feel deeply without losing control, that they can be in charge of their actions and behaviors, and that is strength, is a superpower. So I pray for you this night that the Lord will help you and I and every family joining us to become wise responders, not reckless reactors. That God will teach us to pause when emotion rises. That God will give us patience to guide, not shame. Let our home reflect both compassion and discipline. Amen. Our final declaration. In this home, feelings are welcomed and behaviors are guided. Say it to yourself, say it to your family. Thank you for joining me in this challenge today. I'll look forward to having another refreshing and inspiring moment with us tomorrow. The essence is to build a home that is well grounded in emotional intelligence, able to